This course is designed to provide APM partners with fundamental technical knowledge of AWS. It is broken into 5 modules, including an introduction to Amazon Web Services, AWS Core Services, Cloud Architectures and Solutions, Parts 1 and 2, and Security and Compliance. This course is intended to empower you to make recommendations and informed decisions about cloud-based IT solutions based on the unique requirements of your customers. Upon successful completion of the course assessment, you will earn accreditation as an AWS technical professional. Module 1, Introduction to Amazon Web Services. In Module 1, we will explore how Amazon Web Services relates to cloud computing through a comparison to traditional on-premises infrastructures. Additionally, we will differentiate between regions, availability zones, and edge locations and describe the advantages of diversified data center locations. Part 1, AWS and Cloud Computing. Cloud computing is experiencing tremendous growth in this new era of fast-paced innovation. Businesses, from large, established enterprises to highly successful and disruptive startups, have been moving toward cloud computing in order to gain that competitive advantage. Many are already realizing the benefits of on-demand, scalable compute services without the burden of building and maintaining their own hardware in data centers, and many more are now moving to cloud solutions. As Andy Jassy, Senior VP of Amazon Web Services, stated at the 2015 AWS Summit, cloud is the new normal. What does cloud computing mean to you? Take a moment to provide a quick sentence on what you understand cloud computing to be. There's no wrong answer. Click Submit when you're ready. What do you think? How might cloud computing address some of the issues in the traditional computing model? Write your answer and click Submit when you're ready. Compare your answer. Cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources accessible online with pay-as-you-go pricing. Cloud computing services are like building blocks that customers assemble to meet their technology infrastructure requirements and accomplish their business goals. With cloud computing, organizations can consume on-demand computing and storage resources rather than building, operating, and improving infrastructure on their own. One of the most prohibitive aspects of traditional computing is the significant upfront investment of acquiring, provisioning, and maintaining on-premises infrastructure. Cloud computing can get businesses up and running with a new solution in place quickly and with very low upfront cost. Then you are able to elastically scale up and down in an automated fashion so that you pay only for what you use. Cloud computing also allows you to select the services that best match your needs, giving you flexibility with a wide range of choices and the ability to change your configuration at will. All of these services are provided on a secured infrastructure. Amazon Web Services provides a collection of remote computing services that make up a cloud computing platform, accessible on demand, typically over an internet connection. In this course, we'll examine core infrastructure services and security and management as the foundation of a broad number of services offered by AWS. The AWS mission is to enable businesses and developers to use web services to build scalable, sophisticated applications. Since its launch in 2006, Amazon Web Services has continually provided increasing functionality to a fast-growing customer base of hundreds of thousands of customers in over 190 countries. AWS has enabled highly diverse organizations, from successful startups to large corporate enterprises. In the public sector, they also provide services to over 800 government agencies and over 3,000 academic institutions around the world. AWS innovates at a rapid pace, delivering hundreds of new features and upgrades every year. Gartner's market research positions the top 15 vendors in their Magic Quadrant category for cloud infrastructures as a service. Their research evaluates the top competitors and their ability to execute and completeness of vision. AWS stands out as a top-rated provider in this category. Gartner's clients are primarily enterprises, mid-market businesses, and technology companies of all sizes, and the evaluation focuses on typical client requirements. The fastest growing need among their clients is to have a data center in the cloud, where the customer retains most of the IT operations responsibility. As an overwhelming leader on cloud infrastructure as a service, AWS provides more than 5 times the compute capacity than the aggregate total of the other 14 providers. Check this. As the leader, we will continue to innovate and to define the market. The size and growing capacity of AWS will better enable customers to meet their needs. As mentioned earlier, traditional on-premises IT solutions typically bring to mind large purchases with predetermined capacities for computing and storage power, as well as constraints on where you house your IT resources. Building an on-premises infrastructure can be slow and expensive. In a comparison of cloud to on-premises computing solutions, you can average large capital purchases in a cloud solution. You can avoid ordering expensive hardware that needs to be installed and configured well in advance of application deployment. Other considerations in an on-premises solution may include physical space, cooling, power, cabling, networking, racks, servers, storage, labor, and certification. With cloud computing, you don't have to spend time on these factors. Instead, you just click to order and pay for the resources you need, which are available almost immediately. Then, launch your application. Kay Young, CEO of Mortar Data, says, had we not been on AWS, we would have had to raise an additional $4 million for capital expenses. Cloud computing helps you reduce your ongoing IT costs in multiple ways. AWS is able to continually lower prices due to massive economies of scale and continual improvements. Multiple pricing options also help you optimize costs based on your unique workloads. You pay only for what you consume on a variable, monthly basis. In comparison, an on-premises solution typically requires upgrades on 1-year, 3-year, or 5-year cycles. The cost of labor and systems administration can be significant. Ian Gartner, CEO of VioCorp, says, we are probably saving about 50% of the cost we were spending with our previous dedicated provider. The cost savings achieved using AWS empowers organizations to shift resources toward innovative, new projects that grow their business by focusing on apps, not ops. AWS gives you access to a full-featured platform, on demand, and at a fraction of the cost of traditional infrastructure. Scott Bedard, CTO and founder of This Moment, says, instead of engineers worrying about how to bring up servers, they are working on things like responsive design. Predicting how customers are going to adopt your new application is complex and hard to get right, making it difficult to estimate your infrastructure capacity needs. A traditional infrastructure generally requires that you predetermine the amount of computing resources your application will use over a period of several years. If you underestimate, your applications will not have the power to handle unexpected traffic, potentially resulting in customer dissatisfaction. If you overestimate, you're wasting money with superfluous resources. When you make a capacity decision before deploying an application, you often end up either sitting on expensive idle resources or dealing with inadequate capacity. If you run out of capacity, you are faced with a poor customer experience until you can acquire more resources. On AWS, these problems go away as you simply provision the amount of resources you need. If you need more, you can easily scale up. If you don't need them, just turn them off and stop paying. This eliminates guessing about your infrastructure capacity needs. Keith Mitchell, programmer for Reddit, states, "Being in the AWS cloud gives us the scalability of adding application and database servers as we need them." Cloud computing can move with your business. Its speed and agility makes it possible for you to respond to changing market conditions and computing requirements. In a traditional infrastructure, scalability is a challenge due to the amount of time it can take to get a server procured, delivered, and running. The more elastic scalability provided by AWS means that you can provision resources as you need them. You can deploy hundreds or even thousands of servers in minutes without talking to anyone. This self-service environment changes how quickly you can develop and deploy applications, allowing your team to experiment more quickly and more frequently. Sean Knapp, CTO and co-founder of Uyala, says, "There isn't a way we could be as agile as we are without AWS. AWS has allowed us to move faster and iterate quicker." With traditional infrastructure, it's hard to deliver great performance to a broadly distributed user base. As a result, most companies focus on one geographic region at a time to save cost and time. With cloud computing, the game changes. You can easily deploy your application in any of the AWS regions around the world. This means you can provide a lower latency and better experience for your global customers at minimal cost. Brennan Saida, software engineer for Coursera, states, "We rely on AWS to provide the speed, service, and agility required to serve our students worldwide." As you can see, cloud computing offers many advantages over traditional on-premises infrastructures. It is giving businesses and organizations the leverage they need to innovate faster and more cost-effectively to compete in the increasingly competitive landscape. Part 2, AWS infrastructure. Pretty much everything you would want to do with a traditional data center is available with Amazon Web Services. The on-demand services through AWS correlate to the traditional IT computing model and terminology. As illustrated in this side-by-side comparison, AWS products and services mirror a traditional infrastructure. The breadth of AWS products and services provides a full-service platform for building a variety of applications and computing workloads for very small to very large operations. This robust set of tools makes it possible to move existing applications or build new ones such as mobile services, websites, or backup and recovery with the power of cloud computing. In Part 2, we'll examine the AWS platform, starting with how to leverage its global infrastructure. The AWS infrastructure is defined by global regions, availability zones, and edge locations. AWS is steadily expanding its global infrastructure to help customers achieve lower latency and higher throughput, and to ensure that their data resides only in the region they specify. As customers grow their businesses, AWS will continue to provide infrastructure that meets their global requirements. You can find more details and updated information on aws.amazon.com. A region is a geographic area with two or more availability zones. When you provision new AWS services, you will choose a geographical region where your data will be stored. The region you choose may take into consideration latency optimization, minimizing cost, or possibly addressing regulatory requirements. Regions are completely separate from one another, and resources in one region are not automatically replicated to other regions. Since communication between regions transfers over the public internet, you should use appropriate encryption methods to protect your data. An availability zone, or AZ, is a collection of data centers within a region. Each is isolated from other AZs and connected by a fast, low-latency link. Why do you think this might be important? Type a brief answer in the field provided. Compare your answer. Isolating AZs protects each one from failures in other AZs. Additionally, the low latency links make it possible for another AZ to seamlessly handle requests of another AZ. This ensures the availability of your resources in the unlikely event of a disaster or AZ failure. For this reason, best practices recommend provisioning your resources across multiple AZs. AWS Edge locations host a content delivery network, or CDN, called Amazon CloudFront. CloudFront can be used to deliver websites and content that is dynamic, static, or streaming. Requests for content are automatically routed to the nearest Edge location, so content is delivered faster to customers. For example, you may run your new website in the closest AWS region to you. You would use multiple availability zones to protect against service interruptions, and use CloudFront to ensure your web pages load quickly, no matter where in the world the user is located. What do you think? Suppose your company has a subsidiary based in Europe. That company wants to create a new website, hosted on AWS, which invites US citizens to travel on European holidays. Which region or regions should you recommend for the subsidiary? Make a choice below. Correct. North Virginia is the best choice because the majority of website visitors will be in the US, and this region typically offers the lowest AWS prices. We have reached the end of Module 1. In Part 1, we compared AWS cloud computing to traditional on-premises solutions. Some of the important distinctions are that AWS does not require upfront investment. It is a low ongoing cost. It is flexible capacity. It is fast and agile. It has a global reach. And you can focus on innovation that drives your business instead of systems administration. In Part 2, we explored the infrastructure layer of Amazon Web Services, comparing regions and availability zones. We learned that regions help to reduce latency by providing access nearest your target user group, while availability zones provide isolated environments within the same region, protecting against potential failures. We also learned how CloudFront is used with edge locations to deliver dynamic web content. Before you move on to Module 2, please answer the following practice test questions. These questions will help you prepare for the accreditation test, but are not scored. Correct. Cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources accessible online with pay-as-you-go pricing. Correct. AWS makes it possible to provision the amount of resources you need. If you need more, You can easily scale up. If you don't need them, just turn them off and stop paying. This eliminates guessing about your infrastructure capacity needs. AWS cloud services are accessible over the internet and allow you to run your own applications. You receive on-demand IT services without the burden of building and maintaining your own hardware and data centers. Correct. AWS cloud services allow you to add more resources as needed on a global infrastructure. Typical on-premises solutions differ from cloud services in that they require large investments in capital equipment and significant overhead and administration, including infrastructure upgrades. Correct. AWS cloud services allow you to add more resources as needed on a global infrastructure. Typical on-premises solutions differ from cloud services in that they require large investments in capital equipment and significant overhead and administration, including infrastructure upgrades. Congratulations! You have completed Module 1, Introduction to Amazon Web Services. Next, continue on to Module 2, AWS Services.